A.J. Michaels. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida in the United States, and Jerry is my brother, and I was called to be his caregiver unexpectedly. This meant a lot to me, as Jerry was always a very well person. He never had really a sick day in his life. And we were on a couple of trips. We went to a trip to London, and then we were at a trade show in Las Vegas, and Jerry was just in perfect health. We came back to Florida, and 3-4 days later, he was going on a cruise with my cousin, and he was fine. And then all of a sudden, I get a phone call. He's in the middle of the ocean, and they need to airlift him. And so this was just a complete shock to me. I had no clue what was going on. And it was during a holiday, and I couldn't get a plane out to where he was, and I was going to try to meet him in Atlanta or somewhere. And this was, so it just happened. Probably the most challenging was making these decisions, because they're life-changing decisions, and I couldn't really talk to him because he wasn't in his right mind with the medical, and then they had him in 3 different induced comas. So it was making these decisions that were going to affect both of our lives. First of all was having the transplant. Then how was he going to recover? How long would it take? Where would we be? And just would I be able to carry on with my business and still be able to see him? And just everything. I just had 1,000 questions that I had no answers for. Basically, my personal life it really went down, because I was spending like almost 18 hours a day with Jerry at the hospital. But we had a business, a nightclub, so I had to go to the nightclub late at night and do the payroll, and we deal with the employees and make the schedule up, and it was really difficult to do both of them, but I did it. Honestly, I just went day by day. I just got up every day and just knew what I had to do. I just did it, and I tried to post on Facebook as much as I could, because Jerry has a lot of friends. He's very popular, and I didn't want to have to answer the telephone, answer these questions 25, 30 times. So this way I could just tell him what I knew, and that was basically it. Not really, because like I said earlier, he was put in 3 induced comas, and he was never really in his right mind. And I mean, I was scared, I was worried. At first I thought, a liver transplant, why does he need one? Can we get by without one? Until I was told of how bad he was, which was a complete shock to me. So Jerry and I really never had a chance to really, and he was in his right mind, to really discuss all this. His nurses were very helpful. And he had a kidney dialysis gentleman who spent time with me sitting there. He went over a lot of what was going on, and I think he had personal experience with a friend of his or somebody who had a liver transplant, so he could answer a lot of my questions that were everyday answers, not what a doctor would answer in the medical terms. Well, that's hard to answer, because he was in Mayo Clinic, which is a teaching hospital, and when I would be there, like 6 or 7 doctors would walk in at one time. And I talked to a surgeon, but a lot of times it was just the nurses who really, really helped me. It wasn't so much the doctors, because I never really knew who his doctors were. There was a lot of challenges. I had to do Google, and then we had a friend who was a nurse, and she helped explain a lot of things to me, because the doctors they talked way above my pay grade. I had no clue what they were talking about. It was really real life of what I would be going through, not so much statistics, because I knew statistics really, everybody's different. And I knew Jerry, like I said earlier, had been well, so he wasn't a normal case as far as I knew at the time. And basically I just talked to nurses and other people who had gone through this and tell me what it's going to be like for his rehab, and what we had to go through, and where he had to go to rehab centers. And then they wanted to put him in a nursing home afterwards, which I was not for. When they told me that he definitely had to have a liver transplant, that he had less than 1% chance of surviving, and there was no options if he wanted to live. And it made me realize this is very, very serious. They could not explain one thing because they did not know. To this day, if I ask doctors, Jerry says he had food poisoning on the cruise. Well, he's the one that says that. Maybe somebody else did, but a lot of these doctors said we have no idea because he was never sick. He had blood tests. He had gone to an eye doctor before this, and no one had seen anything. And usually you can tell by the eyes, they said. So it was really a mystery to everyone. I see that medical research is advancing every single day, and a lot of it is just letting the caregiver know what he's involved in, and not just the patient, because the caregiver is very, very important, and they're the ones who are giving the mental aspect to the patient, because if the patient doesn't have confidence in the caregiver and what you're being told, because a lot of times when the doctors walk out, the patient looks at the caregiver or people there and say, what did he just now say? I don't understand this. Can you look it up? Can you do this? Can you do that? Because they really talk, above you. Oh, I was definitely for him to be in a clinical trial. There was no problem at all on my part. I figured anything they could do to help, let's just do it. Well, I knew Jerry never drank, and I always thought what he had, cirrhosis of the liver, was a drinking illness, but I knew that wasn't it, so I thought maybe it's because he ate sweets or something like that. But then the doctors could never say for sure if it was that. All they kept mentioning was the drinking, and I knew for a fact Jerry had never, I know him all my life, and he had never drank at all. Maybe 1 or 2 sweet drinks a year, and that was it, and he barely even finished those. One thing I think is that the doctors, as much medical training as they have, they need a course in just how to treat and how to talk to humans and how to relate to what a human being and a patient is going through, because they're so far, I hate to say it's above us, but they don't realize that when they say you have something, how it's just as life altering and how it really, really affects you personally. And the doctors just go on like it's just a scientific fact that you have this, you have to go through this and that, and that's it. And they don't realize the emotional thing that is on you. I think it's just to educate caregivers and patients, but mostly the caregivers, because I had a lot of people afterwards who had parents or loved ones who were needing a liver transplant. And they were saying to me, how did you get through this? How did you do this? And they had a lot more support, because I was basically by myself. And they have brothers, they have sisters, they have children, they have this. And I just said, you just get up every day, you just do it. You just go to the hospital, you just do it, and you have no choice. And you really can't think about next week or next month, because you hope you get there. Honestly, you can't really plan for this, because when it happens, and you have no idea. So, there really is no message I can say to plan for this, because most people go through their whole lives and are never caregivers. And then all of a sudden, bam, it's thrown on you. So you have to be compassionate. You have to try to study. You have to ask a lot of questions and realize there is no stupid questions or no dumb questions to ask.